It's not a matter for debate. There will be abominations among the mages, and we must be prepared.
If we rescind the offer of an alliance, it makes the Inquisition appear incompetent at best, tyrannical at worst.
What were you thinking, turning mages loose with no oversight? The veil is torn open.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who said anything about loose? They're still ours, aren't they? They deserve freedom. Everyone does. And we need their cooperation. I'm not gonna lie to them. You can consider this their probation.
Give them their freedom for now. If they prove later they can't handle it, impose restrictions.
And how many lives will be lost if they fail? With the veil broken, the threat of possession.
How many lives will be lost if we fail? Yes.
While I may not completely agree with the decision, I support it. The sole point of the Herald's mission was to gain the mage's aid, and that was accomplished.
The voice of pragmatism speaks. Here
Oh.
I was, just starting to enjoy the circular arguments.
Closing the breach is all that matters.
Exactly. The sooner the better.
The longer the breach is open, the more damage it does. We should head there as soon as possible.
Agreed.
We should look into the things you saw in this dark future. The assassination of Empress Celine. A demon army.
Sounds like something a Tevinter cult might do. Orlais falls, the Imperium rises. Chaos for everyone.
One battle at a time. It's going to take time to organize our troops and the mage recruits. Let's take this to the war room. Join us. None of this means anything without your mark, after all.
Alright. I'll be there.
Of course.
Meet us there when you're ready.
I'll skip the War Council, but I would like to see this breach up close, if you don't mind.
Then you're staying?
Oh, didn't I mention? The South is so charming and rustic. I adore it to little pieces.
So you're saying you want to stay?
I must admit, I'm surprised.
We both saw what could happen. What this Elder One and his cult are trying to do. Not everything from Tevinter is terrible. Some of us have fought for eons against this sort of madness. It's my duty to stand with you. That future will not come to pass.
Well, your intentions seem good. But don't think you're getting a freebie. We'll be keeping an eye on you.
Stay if you must, but you'll be watched.
Watch your way. I have nothing to hide, and evidently plenty to prove.
I'll begin preparations to march on the summit. Make her willing, the mages will be enough to grant us victory.
The Inquisition appreciates your assistance in this matter, Lady Corbin.
And my miners appreciate your business. You'll have your Illyrium by the end of the week. I should tell you, Ambassador, the Chantry raised some fuss when they learned about our arrangement.
The Inquisition must certainly seem an audacious idea to the Grand Clerics. We hope to convince them it is a necessary one as well.
I'll take my leave. Good day.
Who was she, Ambassador?
A merchant. I thought we should reach out to the dwarves to secure lyrium for the Inquisition's mages. According to Lady Corbin, it raised the ire of the Chantry.
Oh.
Sure.
Access to lyrium makes us rather more formidable than I anticipated. We're becoming a challenge. Sadly, the remaining Grand Clerics appear to be consolidating the Chantry's power, instead of comforting the masses.
Well, that's politics for you.
Mage circles started falling years ago. The Chantry was troubled even before the Divine's murder.
Yet many people continue to bear it great love. We will not benefit from its decline. Little but the Chantry ties Orlais, Nevarra, Ferelden, Antiva, and even Rivain to a common cause.
Has the Chantry truly promoted such peace?
Andrasti's chant is familiar across kingdoms, a source of many shared customs. That is the crucial point. Common ground is the start of all negotiations.
Sure. And the start of many fights.
Are you sure? Families often fight the hardest.
Having grown up among four siblings, I concede your point. I found, however, that the only time two parties cannot negotiate is when they cease to speak. We must learn to think beyond our own wants to secure peace in Thedas.
For some people out there, that's a tall order.
The Inquisition will have plenty of time for that between finding the Divine's murderer and sealing the breach.
Busy as we are, I do have a question for you, if you've a moment. The remaining Grand Cleric sent a missive inquiring about the events at the Temple of Sacred Ashes.
Right.
They demand to know whether the Inquisition officially claims that Andraste saved you from the breach. If it were up to you, how would you reply?
I have a feeling that it is up to me. I'll just tell them what I think is true right now. I don't claim to be holy. I don't think that it was Andraste that saved me or even chose me.
I tell the Chantry I was saved by circumstance, not divine intervention.
Yet as rumors your Andraste's herald grow, the Grand Clerics may not believe such a humble reply. A difficult situation,
Well,
and I thank you for your answer. A good day to you.
If Fiona and her malcontents are joining us as allies, we need to be prepared. Abominations are inevitable. Cullen doesn't have enough Templars to handle incidents. Some of the rank and file need to be trained.
Alright, fine. Just try to keep them hidden, will you?
Train our people, but keep it a secret. Let the mages think they're not being watched.
I like the way you think, darling. I'll have a word with Cullen. We are reliant on his people, absolutely. There has never been a greater threat to mages than the breach. Until it is closed, no one is safe.
What about you? Do you pose a risk?
When you say mages are a danger, are you counting yourself?
Of course I am, my dear. Every mage who joins the cause is taking a calculated risk, whether they know it or not. Magic is dangerous, just as fire is dangerous. Anyone who forgets this truth gets burned.
Dalish doesn't have Templars.
The Dalish get along just fine without Templars or Circle Towers.
As I understand it, the elves limit their risk by refusing to have more than 3 mages in a clan. Tell me, what becomes of the Dalish youngster who is not appointed first or second?
You tell me. I have a feeling you already know.
If you want to say something about the Dalish, say it.
For those who value survival, sentimentality is not an option. Tell me something. You
What?
said once that you wanted to change things. What future would you build for mages?
Well, we'll bring the circle back.
The Circle has to be restored if we want to keep the peace.
That's comforting to hear, but you'll find opposition to the idea even among friends. It's something to consider, my dear.
Sure. It sure is.
The Mage Rebellion joins the Inquisition. I've got to admit that's a twist I didn't see coming. One thing you saw in the future worries me. I mean, it was all bad. But red lyrium and Ferelden, infecting people and growing out of them, that's bad. Finding more of it really punches a hole in my red lyrium at the temple was a coincidence theory.
Do you know how fast it spreads?
How long does it take for red lyrium to grow? How fast can it spread?
It took years to infect people in Kirkwall, but no one there was actually ingesting the stuff. This Elder One managed to take the worst thing I can think of and make it worse. That's an accomplishment.
Well, don't worry.
The Inquisition has the numbers to track down all this lyrium and destroy it.
I hope so. I don't want to think about what happens if it starts a plague. I've got people trying to find out where the red stuff came from. I think maybe we should make that a priority. But that's enough doom and gloom. You just won a big victory for the Inquisition. What are you going to do to celebrate?
Probably start off by catching my breath.
I was planning to put my feet up, maybe grab a nap. You?
Whatever I do, it'll be as far from Cassandra as I can get. Things should be calm around here for at least the next hour. Take a moment to enjoy it. If the world's about to end, I'm sure the Seeker will let us know.
Hmm.
Well, that's mages all over. So many robes, I bet all of Herald lost their curtains. I'll just be the other side of Haven, just in case.
I can't help it. I've got eyes, don't I?
You don't like mages?
Do you have a problem with our new allies? With mages?
No problem with mages. I mean, you know some that are alright. My problem is magic. If mages sat on their hands, everything would be fine. I mean, yay, freedom. Great for them. Over there, away from me.
Right. Carry on.
I'll be back if I need you.
Go on.
So we have gained the mages. Excellent. They should be able to seal the breach. You are certain you experienced time travel. Could it have been an illusion? A trick of the Fade?
I guess it could be. But Dorian seems to be certain.
Dorian was sure. Impossible as it seems.
What an amazing gift. It is vital the Inquisition succeed to avoid the future you witnessed.
Yeah. I saw you there.
I'm surprised you're not more interested in your own future.
I know enough. If that future happened, then I, and Cassandra, Cullen and the rest, failed to stop this Elder One. Speaking of which, you should ready yourself.
For?
This Elder One. You have now interfered with his plans twice. Once at the Temple of Sacred Ashes, and now again at Redcliffe. A being who aspires to godhood is unlikely to ignore such an affront.
The Inquisition supports free mages. What's next? Elves running Hallam-Sharal? Cows milking farmers?
You don't disagree, do you, Dorian?
I take it you don't agree.
On the contrary, I approve. Heartily. I do wonder
Alright.
if you've considered what this support of yours will do. For mages in general, I mean. The Inquisition is seen as an authority. You've given southern mages license to, well, be like mages back home.
So you're saying they'll rule us next?
So what? They all turn into blood mages, worship dragons, and then take over?
Not at first. But you'd be a fool not to see where this could lead. Thing is, the Imperium was once just like the Sun. Templars, proper circles, all that rot. Then it changed. By inches. Not that this is reason to oppress us. Still, my homeland should be a cautionary tale, not a source of inspiration.
Speaking of your homeland, tell me about it.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. That's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Let's start with slavery.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Ah, that is true.
And did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
Well, it's definitely not like that here.
Well, we don't have slaves in the South.
In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elven. The desperate have no way out. Back home,
Well,
man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated
Yeah,
poorly,
but
that's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
well, at least they have a choice.
At least they're free. They don't have slavery forced on them.
You think people choose to be poor and oppressed? I doubt it. I don't know what it's like to be a slave, truly. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
Alright. What about blood magic? Is blood magic really common?
Just how often is blood magic used there?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
Really?
That's what any Magister would tell you. They'd be convincingly offended by the notion, too. Of course, what people call blood magic here, and what we consider blood magic, are two different things.
Oh yeah? What do you call it? Inner body fluid magic?
What's considered actual blood magic in Tevinter?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a willing participant, what's the harm? The problem is that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? You always need more. That's where we get into sacrifices and demon summoning. None of that is done. Not officially. Behind
No, of course not.
It's a different story. Real blood magic can give you an edge, a leg up against your opponents. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
Right. And there's no, no Templar intervention?
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient. Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. Most of them probably innocent.
Oh. And no one disagrees?
There must be some mages who oppose this.
Of course. I do. And I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a magister who makes noise, and then the reform talk begins. Very patriotic. Meanwhile, that magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he was a Maleficar all along. Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariahhood.
I bet you do. So does the Imperium have a chantry?
There's an Imperial chantry, isn't there? With its own divine?
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you mention him outside...
What do you mean, you people?
Make that face, like you're urinating in public. But yes, we do have the chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
Are you religious?
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question. It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. I simply do not believe in the chantry. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
Can't see why. Others might object, yes.
I'm not surprised. It's not an opinion you should share.
You did ask, if you recall. I'll say this. I may not believe in the chantry, but I believe in you.
In me?
Really?
That the Maker sent you, whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong. You are what we needed most at the moment we needed it. That's what they will say in ages to come.
Really? Well, I'm not so sure about that.
I'm not sure about that myself.
Doubt is good. I like doubt. It will keep you sane. Me? I've seen too much to believe I know everything. The world is bigger than I. Even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe. But I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
Alright, well, What can you tell me about the Black Divine?
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no. In the Imperium, he's the true Divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Disagreement, eh?
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
It's not my field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south, they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine provenance, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So your divine is male.
So the Imperial Divine is always a man?
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number of female magisters who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine after all? Same reason you never see a man on the Sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done. Excellent reasoning.
So is it really that different back there?
Is the Imperial Chantry so different from ours?
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over him business. Back home,
Right.
ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
Oh, you have circles.
There are circles of magi in the Imperium?
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers. They watch for abuse.
What do they do?
magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce their magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
I see. Interesting. I want to ask something else.
Let me ask you something else.
So many questions.
So, back to Tevinter. Do mages truly rule there?
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
I find it strange that your mages don't rule anything at all. Actually, the
Well-
fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The magisterium rules. That magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
Right, but mages do rule, don't they?
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule, then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages
Go on.
do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Right, and is that true?
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins. So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Is that bad? It sounds bad. I don't know what that means.
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing.
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers
Oh.
and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
I see. All right. What can you tell me about the magisterium? What is
What is
that?
the magisterium, exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now.
Right.
It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
Right. Well, so what are you then?
If you're not a magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
And an Altus is...
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later. Lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soperati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
Alright, and what about your, leader, the Archon?
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
I see. I want to ask something else.
Let me ask you something else.
Of course.
Do you think Tevinter could be an ally?
I'm wondering if the Imperium would be a useful ally.
I think you'd be more concerned whether or not they'd support the Venatori. They won't. At least, not officially. They'll disavow all knowledge of dangerous cultists. Secretly, many Magisters will rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime, all the better.
Right. And is that smart of them, you think?
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave up on the idea of allies a long time ago. We've been fighting the Qunari for what, 200 years off and on? It's a point of pride that we go it alone. They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, "You've had it easy for far too long." Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
But we're not.
We're not part of the Chantry. The Chantry opposed the Inquisition's formation.
You think that matters? Don't be silly. The Herald of Andraste. Your very title smacks of the Southern Chantry. You may as well be a heathen. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
Alright, that's enough of that.
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
So, Dorian, tell me about yourself.
It occurs to me that I barely know anything about you.
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond that.
Yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed, which is obvious to anyone.
Well, I don't know about that.
Some more than others.
Some people have superior taste. Now, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, me. I am the scion of House Parvis, a product of generations of careful breeding and the repository of its hopes and dreams. Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheming, the illusions of supremacy. That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
Okay, hold on. Where do I even start with that? So you don't like Tevinter?
I'm getting the impression you don't care much for your homeland.
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great deal. There's so much potential. Sadly, we squander it. We refuse to acknowledge how far we've fallen because pretending is easier. We pretend that Qunari can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
I see. But why do you care?
It just seems so much of what you say about the Imperium is entirely negative.
It might sound that way. For all our faults, my people have many virtues. We are laden with history and culture. Tevinter is where Thedas truly began, remember? We treasure our past.
Sure.
You can walk down a side street and find nothing built during the modern ages. And despite appearances, we care. Deeply. About everything. We have no reserve, not in war and not in love. If I truly believed my homeland was beyond all hope, I wouldn't miss it so much.
Alright, well, you could always go back. Why not go back?
Why remain with the Inquisition? Why not go back to Tevinter?
I'm not exactly welcome back home. Not that it matters. I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah. It adds to my charm. I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my homeland back 1,000 years. I'm sure some magisters would disagree, but that's why we kill them.
Right, and, what was that about careful breeding?
What did you mean by generations of careful breeding?
The great families of Tevinter don't have children. They refine traits, weed out the undesirable, and promote the rest. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her blood. Never mind that they loathed each other. They wanted a son who could become Archon to make House Parvis the envy of the Imperium. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
Right, and so you're saying that your family is angry with you?
Why would your family be upset with your choices?
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family. We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the magisterium. I declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see.
I suppose I do, yes. Well, that's enough for now.
I think I've heard enough.
That's too bad. I never tire of talking about myself.
I'm sure. So have you seen Alexius?
Have you gone to see Alexius yet? He's in the cells.
Not yet, no. I saw him before they locked him up. He looked despondent, broken. Not the man I remember, nor the one I want to. I suppose the Inquisition will judge him eventually. I wonder if there's any chance they'll show him mercy. He hardly deserves it, but for Felix's sake. I can't help hoping there's something left of the man I once knew.
I guess we'll see.
And what are we supposed to do, exactly?
What you always do. Complain.
We've already spoken with Commander Cullen. No one listens. We want better quarters. We want the Templars kept at a distance. And some respect for...
This is not the Circle. You mages are our allies, not our wards. Act like it.
How are we supposed to...
Deal with it. It never ends, evidently.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
You don't need to tell me that.
I just don't know who told them I'm the one to yell at.
Is it that bad?
The mages are here as equals. They need to get used to what that means. It is your doing, after all. You created this alliance.
Yeah, and I hope it'll work out.
Well, I hope it works. What other choice do we have?
Oh. I do sound like I'm blaming you, don't I? I don't disapprove.
A little bit.
In fact, you did well. You made a decision when it needed to be made. And here we are. I wish I could say this was my doing.
Now you're just flattering me.
You're flattering me.
I'm not. This always happens. Nobody ever takes my meaning.
You should see your face.
I'm thinking less flattering things now. Let's hope the breach has your sense of humor.
They've got good form. Cullen's putting his Templar training to good use.
Yeah, I suppose he is.
I'm impressed by what Cullen has accomplished with the troops.
Damn right. It takes time to build a group into a team, but he's got their loyalty. Now he just needs them to make a decent shield wall, and they'll be good to go. Biggest problem for the Inquisition right now isn't on the front line. It's at the top. You've got no leader, no Inquisitor.
Well, Cullen commands the troops.
Cullen has the loyalty of our soldiers.
Yeah, he's shaping up to be a good commander. But he's building an army, not a movement. My people don't pick leaders from the strongest, or the smartest, or even the most talented. We pick the ones willing to make the hard decisions, and live with the consequences. Who knows? Maybe you seal the breach. The Chantry gets off its ass and all those soldiers go home and get fat.
You think?
It could happen. It won't, but it could.
Uh-huh.
Nice work at Redcliffe. I could help the mages learn to work with Inquisition soldiers if you like. Not that the chief has any apostates in the group.
Right. Well, tell me about the Chargers.
Can we talk about the Bull's Chargers?
Best company you'll find from here to the Anderfells. In my time with the chief, we've gone up against everything from bandits to magic trees. We're expensive, but you'll never doubt we're worth it. Want to know anything in particular?
Can you tell me about the magic trees?
You said something about everything from bandits to magic trees. I'll admit to some curiosity.
Right. Sylvans. That's what Dalish called them.
Oh.
Spirits can possess trees, too. Some noble
Yeah.
in Dales, and they really don't like it when you call them Dalish nobles, had a haunted forest. His family had abandoned the land, but he wanted it back. The chief bought us all axes, and in we went. Between the axes and the torches, the Sylvans weren't too bad. Worst part was the squirrels.
I see. Do you follow rules?
Are there rules for how mercenaries operate?
If you don't want some noble to treat you like bandits, yes. There's also a code of conduct most companies hold to. Keeps things civilized on the battlefield. We accept surrenders for ransom from mercenaries, nobles, and soldiers wearing a lord's colors. Our prisoners are treated well, injuries tended. We'd want the same for any of ours who got captured.
Hmm. And what are your abilities?
Do the Chargers specialize in anything from a tactical standpoint?
Bull doesn't want us large enough to work as an army. We're better as shock troops, as skirmishers. We've got archers for hitting enemy infantry, Dalish with more archery, and Skinner and her people on the flanks. Rocky handles fortifications and traps, and Stitches keeps us all fighting. They mostly hold back. I'll lead the frontline fighters with Grim, and the chief goes wherever he can hit something.
I see. Well, thank you for your time.
We'll talk later.
So, that Tevinter guy sent you into the future?
Yeah. It's pretty weird, right?
Every time I think I understand magic, the rules change.
I know, right? If I were a mage, I'd just throw fire at people. That's honest. Anyway, I hope our new friends have what it takes to close the breach. Damn thing gives me a headache just looking at it.
Make her look at it. So much easier to ignore when it's far away. And to actually walk out of it. To be that close.
Yeah, I got real lucky back there.
If I hadn't been saved by Inquisition soldiers, I don't know what would have happened.
Inquisition soldiers? That's not what I've heard. I have to admit, I thought you'd be...
human.
Yes.
Well, I can see why.
That's not surprising. Humans are everywhere. It's expected.
It was a foolish thought. Should have known better than to say anything. It's what you do and how you do it that's important. Just one question then. How do you think you fit in with all this?
I just want peace.
I just want to help stop the war. Try to put things back in order.
A worthy goal, one I'm happy to support. For me, I'll be
Good.
satisfied so long as we find the bastards that killed the Divine. They owe us some answers.
What can I do for you?
So, why the name Iron Bull?
So how did you get the name Iron Bull?
I picked it. We don't have names under the cube. Just, I don't know. Job descriptions, I guess. When I came to Orlais, I chose the Iron Bull for myself.
Yeah, but why that name, though?
But why specifically Iron Bull?
This may surprise you, but I really like hitting things. Also,
Right.
it's the Iron Bull, technically. I like having an article at the front. It makes it
Oh.
sound like I'm not even a person, just a mindless weapon. An implement of destruction. That really works for me.
I see. Tell me of the Ben Hasrath.
I'd like to know more about your work with the Ben Hasrath.
Ben Hasrath is actually a general term. You've got the secret police who investigate problems inside our territory. You've got the re-educators who take people with problems and fix their minds. Or make them disappear. And then you've got the spies.
Re-educators?
How do the re-educators work?
I only know the basics. Wasn't my area. That said, keep a man awake long enough. Ask the right questions, give the right potions, and you can get him to say anything. You don't need blood magic or demons to change someone's mind. We're a lot more fragile than we'd like to believe.
That's kind of revolting.
The re-educators sound horrible.
Yeah, they probably do. Here's the thing, though. What happens in Orlais when you commit a crime or betray a lord? They just lop your head off. At least the Qunari try to fix you.
And is it really that easy?
You can alter someone's beliefs that easily?
One of my friends was a re-educator. He said that every memory is like the page of a book. When you examine a memory, you're turning to that page, and when you're there, the page is laid bare. Write a few notes in the margins of the page, erase a word here and there, and your whole outlook changes. Always felt a little weird reading after that conversation.
And your job is spying, I presume?
And you're a spy?
Close. I am now, I suppose. But that's not how I started. They sent me to Saharan because they needed someone who could fight and hunt down problems. That whole island was a sack of cats. Incursions from Tevinter, Tal Vashath, and native rebels fighting both sides. And in the middle, me, trying to wrangle the rebels and restore order.
Doesn't sound like the easiest task.
I can't imagine that was easy.
Nope. I hunted down a lot of rebels. Lost a lot of friends to the Vince, or the Fog Warriors, or the Tal Vashath. One day I woke up and couldn't think of a damned reason to keep doing my job. Turned myself into the re-educators.
Really? Even knowing what they did?
You'd heard what the re-educators did to their prisoners.
Yes, I had. I wanted them to fix me like they fixed them. The Ben Hasrath ordered me to go to Orlais, ostensibly as a Tal Vashath, and work undercover. That's how I ended up here.
I see. What an interesting story.
Thanks for the information, Bull.
No problem, boss. Anyway, nice talking with you.
I've heard rumors of abandoned warden camps all over these parts. If we have time, I'd like to take a look. See if there's anything we can salvage.
Alright, sure. So what do you think of the Inquisition?
What do you think of the Inquisition?
I expected more. More men, better equipment. You may have Andraste's favor, but wars are won by men, soldiers.
Well, wars are won in many ways.
Brute force is not always the answer. There are plenty of other paths to victory.
True enough. Still, it never hurts to be prepared. One thing I will
True
say
enough.
about your men, they're passionate, devoted. You inspire them. Build on that foundation, and you will have an army that makes nations tremble.
Yep. It's a comforting thought. What do you think of our cause?
What do you think of the Inquisition's cause?
Restoring order is a goal I support wholeheartedly. But that's not the end of it, is it? Not by a half. The Lady Seeker believes we are restoring the Chantry. Others say it needs reform. I don't know where you stand on the matter, and I'll admit I haven't made up my mind either.
Your thoughts on the war?
What do you think about all this trouble between the mages and Templars?
Looking at it from where we stand, it seems inevitable. But that could be hindsight. How many of us actually saw it coming? Either way, I don't think the Chantry will ever recover.
Yeah, that's true enough. What about Haven?
What do you think of Haven?
It's a war camp that was once a pilgrim's refuge. It's the state of the world, though, isn't it? Holy ground turned into a battlefield. Pity about that temple. Would have been nice to see it.
Any thoughts on my advisors?
What do you think of my advisors?
Josephine's lovely, and craftier than you'd expect. The Inquisition could not have picked a better ambassador.
And?
What do you think of my advisors?
Josephine's lovely.
That's it?
Craftier than you'd expect. The Inquisition could not have picked a better ambassador.
What about the other advisors? Okay. Thoughts on my inner circle?
You must have some feelings about our friends.
You're eyeing the Lady Seeker, aren't you? I can
What?
see why. She's definitely striking. A little stern, though.
Okay. A little?
I'd say she's a lot stern.
She's a warrior. That's all she knows. And it's suited her thus far.
Indeed. Anything else?
You must have some feelings about our friends.
You're eyeing the...
Okay.
Stern, though.
Thank you, Blackwall. See you later.
We should return to our duties.
As you wish. You are, after all, in charge.
Yep.
What's going on?
Hey, the Iron Bull. What can you tell me about your people, the Qunari?
I'd like to know more about the Qunari. You writing a book?
They just sound interesting as all.
What I've heard about them sounds fascinating.
What you've heard was mostly horse shit. All right.
Probably. Alright, where do we start? How is it growing up?
What's it like growing up under the Qun?
The Tamasrans raise us in these units of kids all our own age. They're like teachers or chantry sisters. They also help figure out what jobs we should do. They had me pegged for military work early on. When they learned I could hit stuff and lie, they started training me for the Ben Hasra.
I see. So no families.
You never knew your parents?
No. I know for you folks, that's a big deal. The Tamasrans were like...
A little bit.
Taught us to read, helped us go to sleep, all the parent stuff. I remember the one who helped me build things with blocks. She laughed when I knocked everything down.
I see. What's the day-to-day life of a Qunari?
How is everyday life different for Qunari?
Depends on your job, I guess. Some are just about the same. A baker in Val Royeaux gets up, gets dressed, and starts work. A baker in Parvolan does the same thing. They don't care about the Empire or the Qun. Mostly they worry about breaking eggs and hope the dough rises right.
But the baker in Parvolan isn't free, is he?
It can't be exactly the same. The Qunari have no personal freedoms.
How many personal freedoms do you figure that baker in Val Royeaux has? Life isn't about freedom. The baker in Parvolan wonders if she'll be given enough eggs to do her work. Will they come on time? Will the kitchen workers get her bread while it's fresh, or will they come late and blame her 'cause it's stale? Same crap in Val Royeaux. People are just people.
Fair enough, I guess. How do they govern?
How do the Qunari rule themselves?
It's pretty simple. We've got the matriarchy, the priesthood, and the military. The priesthood figures out how Qunari should live in theory. The matriarchy makes it work in practice. And the military keeps the Qunari safe from outside threats.
Is there much dissent?
Does it actually work like that? Is there much infighting?
Not like you're thinking of. People disagree, yeah, but the priests are there to solve disagreements. Here in Olay, politicking comes from people putting their own gain ahead of the gains of society. If you do that among the Qunari, the Ben Hasrath set you straight, or kill you.
I see. Do you marry?
I heard there's no marriage among the Qunari.
Yeah, that's true. Qunari love our friends like anyone does, but we don't have sex with them.
Qunari don't have sex?
Oh, we definitely have sex. They're Tamasrans who pop your cork whenever you need it.
What? Really?
Seriously?
Yes. It's not a big deal like it is here. It's like, I don't know, going to see a healer. Sometimes it's this long, involved thing. It takes all day, leaves you walking funny. Other times you're in and out in 5 minutes. Thank you. See you next week.
Sounds like a fun time.
I could work with that.
I know, right? No drama. Still, it's
Yeah.
more fun here. Fewer rituals, more making it up as you go along. Plus, you folk have redheads. Redheads.
Easy now, Tiger. I mean, Bull. So, what happens if Thetis falls to the Qun?
Do you ever think about what would happen if the Qunari conquered Orlais or Eldon?
Some folks, like Cassandra or Cullen, would do fine if they didn't die fighting. Those two love roles. But the mages... Vivienne's too political. Dorian's too arrogant, and Solus is just... weird. They'd all end up dead. Or worse. Both Sarah and Varric would mouth off until they ended up re-educated. Drugged until their minds broke. So, to answer your question, no. I don't think about it much at all.
I see. What does Qunari mean again?
The word Qunari, is that the race or the religion?
Both. Kind of. The humans and elves who follow the Qun are the Vidathari. The Qunari who break away from the Qun are Talvasha, deserters.
And those who predated the Qun?
What about Qunari who existed before the Qun?
The people we came from. They're called the Kossith, but we don't use that word for the race. We came south to Thetis because the Kossith were... I don't know. We had to leave. The stories aren't clear. But I don't expect they look much like us. Whatever they are.
I see. Well, it was nice talking to you, the Iron Bull.
See you later, Bull.
See ya.
See ya.